Boy, this is fun. I get to talk to not one, but two former Longhorn second basemen. Andre Robertson and David Lowery are both here.
And I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to this one because not only is Andre a Longhorn, but he was one of my idols growing up in Orange County back home. I grew up with his little brother, Rod, and it was all during our high school years. That's the years that Andre was with the Yankees, and we idolized him. We idolized watching him play shortstop and second base for the Yankees. So we've since become good friends along with his little brother, and we've been close a long time. So it's almost like family. It's almost, it's the Orange County boys. So
Golden Triangle, baby.
That's right, the triangle.
Andre, I have a feeling that you never worried about Lowery breaking any of your second base records at UT.
Well, maybe the hitting ones, because I kept getting a couple of those 3-0 takes and 3-1 and 3-2 takes. But other than that, I could always catch the ball. And they say, defense wins the championships. So, hey, I'll take that.
Yeah, he was in no threat of me defeating, beating any of his defensive records. Funny story right off the bat. I was just telling Mike and Kim before we started is so Andre comes back. He had gotten in a wreck. We'll get into that kind of stuff later. Was coming back, trying to make a little bit of a comeback, was finishing his degree. So he came out and would work out with us.
Yes.
And so we're out there, me, Andre, and Coach Bethea one day at second base, and we're turning double plays. Yeah. And I sit there and I watch Andre turn 4 or 5 double plays, and I'm thinking, I ain't ever seen anything like that. Those hands are different.
Yeah.
And Coach Bethea looks right at me and goes, "Hey, Lowery," he goes, "just do what Andre's doing." And I looked at him and I go, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "I don't know if he can hit like me, but I got no chance." I said, "I'm just going to start out. I'm going to catch the ball, throw it over to first. How about that?" Because I got no chance to turn it like he turns it. I tell you what, special hands. I've never seen anyone before, during, or since when I played, or even since I played, that had the kind of hands that Andre had. I call him the Vegas card dealer. That's what it is. It changed direction. It was fundamentally sound and as quick as lightning. Really special to watch.
See, the only thing I didn't see on that one, David, was the sound effect. Remember the?
Yeah, no, I that's right. Sometimes on this podcast, I go, yeah, he does the Vegas. We tell that story together. I got the sound effects with it. And I'm just sitting there going, holy cow, this is what it takes. If everybody like this in the big league, I better go out to the outfield now. Because I got no chance. This is different. I mean,
he wound up moving to first base. It's probably because of you.
First base, third base, left, I went all over. So,
and I tried to tell him
a different level.
No, I tried to tell him the secret. Have those quick feet, make those hands quick. If the feet slow, the hand's gonna be dragging.
That's right.
That's what it was. And I always tell Sweets, you were the one got me to the big leagues. He said, no, I wasn't. That was you. I said, I was like that unrefined lump of clay, and you refined it and got me, because I never played second base before I got to UT. So I learned that position there, actually. I was a shortstop in high school. So the footwork was the main thing I had to learn. And when I finally got that, and though I got those good partners I had from short, it made it a lot easier to play second, even though I had never played it before.
How tough was that when the coaches said, Andre, you may be good at short, but you can't play short here because you can't fit in there. You got to play somewhere else.
Well, for me, I don't take that as something lightly or whatever. I said, well, if I have to learn somewhere else to play, I'm going to do that, because I always could, I mentioned earlier, catch the ball. Yeah. So it was learning the footwork and the waist. And David can tell you, when Sweets has that fungo, you're going to learn to play those positions and get that footwork. And once that was there, it's just using the athleticism, not letting anybody hit me. I think I had a picture on my Facebook account when we were in the College World Series. I turned a double play. The guy had hit me, and my feet are well above my head. And everybody says, you're even smiling when you turn a double play and hit. I said, hey, it's just he was out at first, so that's my term. I say I like to make people take a right turn when they get to first base. And what that means is they're going back to the dugout.
You touched on you kind of already gone into something I was going to ask you about. How important was Coach Bethea? For those of you that not know at home, we called him Sweets. That was his nickname. How important, and I think you've already touched on it, but but kind of go into more detail how important he was in your development once you got to
Right.
college into making you a big leaguer.
I tell you, I give him all the credit because, I had the, like you say, athleticism, but when you're learning a position you've never played before, you have to learn the techniques that will make you successful. He taught us how many ways, I know you did it too, it's probably about 5 different ways you could turn a double play.
Right.
So when you learn all of those, it doesn't matter where the ball is. So if it's way in front of the bag, you would go across the bag and get it. If they throw it behind the bag, left foot on the bag and throw it. So you learn everything so you're prepared for anything. And that's what he taught me right there.
Take your chest to the baseball. Always try
That's
to catch
it.
the baseball in the middle.
And
Let your
then
hands work.
when you play with a partner that's real good, you kind of, everything kind of melts together. So I played, first it was Steve Day, then for 2 years with Ron Gardenhire, who became the starting shortstop for the New York Mets. So we left UT and both went to the big city. So, well, I had a detour for half a year in Toronto, played with the AAA. I got drafted by Toronto, played in single A and triple A, had a good series against the Yankees. So that's how I made it to the Yankees in my second year.
Did you come close to signing with the Rangers when they drafted you out of high school?
I did, but myself, I did not think I was ready. I could have been in the minor leagues, but I had told somebody I'm not getting 1,500 hits in the minor leagues. So when I went to UT, that's when everything gelled. Like I say, I give Mr. Bethay all the credit, and he's the one that got me there. And I'm going to tell him that every time I see him.
Tell us a little bit about the journey. Once you enter pro ball, you're drafted after 79, you go into pro ball. I think Toronto took you, correct, before you went over to the Yankees. Give us a little bit of that background and that journey.
Well, it was kind of strange because when I played with Toronto, they knew where I played in high school. So I was immediately moved back to shortstop. So learning to play second did help me because it made me a little more versatile, but I wasn't quite a utility infielder. I could play both as a starter. So when I was there, they said, it's kind of the same thing you said. We had another second baseman. His name was Andre Wood, believe it or not. So we had the two Andres in the middle, and everybody that was Dunedin, Florida, said that's the best double play combination they had ever seen at that time. So what I learned at UT, I still applied it when I got into the pro ranks. So what happened with me also, what made it even better, Toronto did not have a AA team back then. They were an expansion team. So they called me up to AAA for the playoffs. And like I said, I had a good series against the Columbus Clippers. And they had Gene Michael as their manager. So when we almost beat them, but what was funny is I think we were in the bottom of the last inning. Danny Schmitz, little infielder, hit a squibber over in the hole. I got that ball in the hole and I just gunned it. And, that ball went about 20 rows in the stands. Okay. So he goes to second. The next hit is up the middle. Now, our outfielder, Ted Wilborn, throws the ball up first baseline. So he scores easily. They won the series. Well, I found out the next year I'm going to New York because Gene Michael said I had a strong arm.
So it came off a wild throw?
Right. That
they
ball,
traded
it was
for you off
online.
wow.
It just took off like a jet plane. So he said, oh, he's got a good arm. He's going to be with us next year. And that's kind of how I got to New York.
And how lucky was that? You go to the Yankees and in 81, you get called up to the big leagues and you play in the World Series.
Right. And that's, I don't really bring that up that often because I kind of just pitch ran in one of the games, but I was there and you think of it as how many of the greatest players in the game never got to play in that game. So I take that out with a grain of salt. And hey, that's one of the biggest thrills that I've ever had. And there's a funny story with that too, because at that time I wore number 55. You know who was the number before me? It was Gustafson. So they introduced him and the fans just kept cheering and cheering and cheering. And I'm just standing there. I'm saying, did they forget me? Or, and they finally said, oh, yeah, and shortstop, and number 54. So you knew where you stood at that time. I was not up there at quite the height as some of those other guys, but I was there.
Now, I got to ask you that after you get to the University of Texas, right after they'd won the College World Series in '75,
right?
You don't get to win a College World Series. You came close, but you never won a College World Series. But then you got the pros, and you get to the World Series.
It's ironic, isn't it? Hey, and like I've been telling the guys, I walked up there. I was there last weekend and was telling the younger guys, hey, you never know who's watching you. Play every game like it's your last. Play every play like it's your last. And then they're going to see you. And someone else brought up the point. It's not what you do when you're playing well. It's what you do when you're not playing well. Are you letting that defeat you? And I said, as long as I'm on this field, I'm going to beat that player on the other team. And I think that kind of drive is what got me to where I was.
And then so after 81, how do you roll in and you start to kind of establish yourself as a starter for the Yankees? Kind of take us through that.
Okay. Well, I always liked the odd years, seemed like, because in 82, I was down. I thought I was going to be up. We went to that opening dinner, and I was in my hotel room getting ready for opening day the next day, and I heard somebody knocking on my window. Well, I'm on like the 6th floor. We had a snowstorm. They called off opening day, and I got sent down because Bucky Dent had gotten hurt. Well, that was the first time. I think that was a trivia question. I wore 3 numbers that year. I went from 56 to 50 to 18 to 55. So that year was not a good one for me. And then when I came back in 83, an odd number. I won that J.P. Dawson Award for best rookie, in spring training in 81. But in 83 is when I think I was accepted by everybody as the everyday shortstop for the New York Yankees.
And talk a little bit about that, what that's like. People that haven't made the journey through the minor leagues and baseball in general, sports in general, but really the minor league thing where you can go up and down. What was it like in 82? Some of that resilience you were just talking about you were saying in regards to if you're playing bad, you still want to be able to make a difference in the game and show people, and it's kind of the same on the big picture. When you get sent down, how did you take that and how did you respond?
Well, I'm the one that was my goal. I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. So I was doing anything it took to get there. And I did not care what it took. I was going to do that. And I think they saw that in me. I'm going to play my hardest every night. And like you said, when you can play defense, the hitting can come along later.
That's right.
You can't. It's hard to teach defense. You got hitting coaches. You don't have too many fielding coaches. It's just they're hitting you ground balls, and you learn. You either have that or you don't. To that level where you're getting up, where you're belonging in the major league. So to me, I took pride in that. And if it was another shortstop hitting me a ball, I was not letting them get a hit. So you know how that is. It's your rival player on the other team. Nope, you can't get it. So, but I did that, and it's like I always wanted to make it, and that was my goal. So I put everything that I had into that, and everything worked out until I did get hurt. So that's how I got there. Bucky got hurt. That's how I got to the World Series. And that's how, as well as me, how many people in the minor leagues deserve to be in the major leagues. But you got to display someone who's up there and been proven that they belong there for years. So most of the time, someone gets hurt, and that's how you get your break. The only thing is, when you get the break, do something with it. And I was fortunate enough that I did do that.
How tough was it your days with the Yankees? You had about 6 different managers. You have Michael, you have Bob Lemon, you have Billy Martin, you have Yogi Berra. Mm-hmm. That had to be tough. You had to impress a new manager almost every single year.
And that is true. And it's like I actually had Billy twice. They fired Yogi, hired Billy, then fired Billy and hired Yogi. So it was one of those type things. But to me, it was like just going out and proving I could play. And I tried to do that from high school through college through the big leagues. So I had that funny story. I told David like at UT. Gus came up to me one time, and this is how I approach the game. I consider myself a team player. He's told me, well, we had a JC transfer named Jim Jader. He said, Gus called me in the office. Well, he's hitting 324. You're hitting 294. We're going to have to play him. And I said, okay, if you think that's better for the team, go ahead and do it. Now, no, he looked at me kind of funny, but that's just the way I was. And I think in the end, I end up getting back in there. I'm not going to say what happened, but I ended up, that was the only start I did not have. My first, what I'm trying to think of this, my first 20 games, I was out with a broken hand. We were 20-0. How was I going to play? We had another second baseman, ended up putting a hamstring or something. I got in that 21st game, and I did not miss a start for 3 years until he did that my junior year.
Wow.
So it's putting the work in, it's being prepared, getting the opportunity, and excelling. And that's what you have to do to make it.
What was it like playing for Billy Martin? Some of those cast of characters,
Oh, it's awesome. You see that stuff on TV, the kick in the dirt, that's not real. Then you see it in person, you go, oh, that is the truth. That is him. But Billy was, we would always wait. Billy was actually taller than me. I did not realize that until I got to New York. He was about 6 foot or 6'1". You see him on TV, the little frail route going out kicking the dirt. That's not what you expected when I got there. But he knew, I think, what happened to me. I was championed by, let me think, Popeye. Remember Popeye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he said he would be hitting me ground balls, try to hit it up the middle. He says, I can't get it to his left. He'd hit the ball on the second base side of second. I'd go get it. So he was my champion as far as getting me through those days with Billy. And I always had people that had backed me, and he would talk me up to Billy and say, this kid has to play. And those are the people that kind of helped.
And you played with some stars there too, Nettles, Dave Winfield,
right.
Ricky Henderson, just to name a few. Your thoughts on some of those guys?
The big one is Reggie Jackson. Reggie. So, and I had a story about him. I think I've told you. First time I met him in spring training in '81. I went up, hi Reggie, my name's Andre Robertson. Like he shook my hand and kind of looked me up and down, right? And okay. So I was just getting there. They didn't know me, but I had a good spring. So when they called me up at the end of the year, we were in Minnesota freezing. I didn't play that first night, but the next night, I'm saying, well, I'm thinking, why would he do that? Well, that next night, it changed. I was starting. He said, come run with me. So we were out there warming up, getting ready for the game. And to his credit, he told me, he actually calmed me down and said, hey, all you have to do what you did to get here, and you ought to be okay. And just hearing those words, my first 2 at-bats, I had hits, went 2 for 3 that night, got robbed by Willie Wilson. And I figured out, well, man, these guys can play up here. I hit a bullet. The best ball I hit, he ran it down in deep left center field. So I was 2 for 3 instead of 3 for 3. But I give that Reggie credit for that. He took a rookie and gave me that encouragement to go out and play. And all of the guys I played with, from Ricky, Ricky came later, but Greg Nettles, I know one story on him. He hit a ball, he always dove, and he'd get up and throw the guy out at first. Well, he did it one time, and he threw it, and I was right behind him. He says, well, you going to catch that ball? I said, yes. And he just looked at me funny. And I said, hey, if you want to dive, go ahead. If you didn't get it, I had it to get him out too. So these were all good guys, and they helped me. Helped me through getting that anxiety out and just relaxing and playing the game.
You played all those years for Gus, and then you played for Billy Martin. Compare the two.
Well, Billy, I think, was better for younger players. And that's like you said, me with the older guys, Billy was real fiery, and some of those older guys were set in their ways, but Gus was just reserved. He had his way of just staring at you. And okay, you know what you were supposed to do before you were gonna do it. So, and it's just winning. That's what he wanted out of his teams and players. And hey, we were fortunate enough to do that most of the time. But Billy just fiery, and I can't say too much about him, but there's this code we have in this band. I think David knows what I'm talking about. So, but
on the field, though, Billy Ball was famous for being so aggressive back when he managed the Minnesota Twins.
Right.
Rod Carew stole home like 7 times.
Right.
And the way Gus Ball was, it was pretty good. So how's it going to go? What's the difference between the two in that respect? Gus Ball, Billy Ball.
Right. Well, Billy Ball, like I said, it worked. He liked to put pressure on the other team. And as us, we would even, David, I know you bunt runners over. He would want to get runs around and score. Billy would steal runs. That's why he was so good when he was with Oakland. You got Ricky Henderson, arguably the best leadoff hitter ever. And he used to make me so mad, I would get mad at him every time. Because Billy, hold him on. I said, Billy, he's only 3 foot from the base, then he's still third. That's the kind of players he had. All of those guys could run. They did all the extra stuff. We were a team that, okay, if we're going to take a walk, we had Joe Bruno who could steal. You got Terry Salazar driving runs in. If I was hitting well, I hit 9. So it's like having 2 leadoff hitters, and that was the same when I was in New York, because it was either me hitting 9, then there was Willie Randolph, then came Ricky Henderson. So if I was hitting well, we were beating everybody, and that's the way that game was. Billy just liked to put pressure on him. Gus would be methodical. Okay, I know who I'm gonna pitch. I know what I'm gonna do. Is he gonna butt him over? Okay, drive him in. But we won. We had good pitching, and I think he thought we had the best pitchers in the world. And when we played them in scrimmages, it wasn't that hard facing other teams' pitchers.
Yeah, I think Mike, kind of going into that, there were some similarities between Martin's style and Gus's style, but the difference is the college and the pro game.
Right.
So Gus liked the stolen base too, but then we utilized the bunt to get him to third, to hit a ground ball or fly ball. Whereas in pro ball, they're either going to have you steal second or third and let the guy swing it, hit the ball over there. So that, yes, different little bit genre, pro ball, college ball, but there was a lot of the same offensive philosophy.
Right. Just get that run home. Get that run home.
Yeah, manufacture runs, to put it simple. Now, you've already segued, Andre, because I was going to ask you about Ricky Henderson, one of the best offensive players you've ever played with.
Right.
Now, we're going to build him up before we tell the stories. Yeah.
He's the best. And, like, I'll give you one example right off the bat. He had never hit more than 15 home runs in a year. So he joined us in 1985. He said, I'm going to hit 30 home runs this year. He didn't. He hit 28. But, he almost doubled what his high was. He had one of the quickest bats I have ever seen, a good eye at the plate, and he put pressure on everybody when he got on first base. So that guy, he could disrupt the game by himself.
And so now I'm going to segue into your favorite. I always get you to tell this story. It's a great story. Tell about Ricky and the entire state building.
Okay. Well, the way this started, I'm like the rookie in the group. I'm Ricky Henderson, Ken Griffey. I'm talking about senior, not junior. And I were all in the same building. Well, one day we found that out, and I told him, I said, yeah, but I'm not used to this. I had a 1-bedroom apartment, wood flooring, and that's it. Okay, it's $1,100 a month back then. Ken Griffey said, boy, that's how he would talk. He said, that's the same thing I got. Well, of course, Ricky was the up-and-coming star, right? So they got him his apartment. It had wall-to-wall carpeting, utilities paid, everything in it. No cable, any luxury he could have. But his favorite thing he told me was, and I tell you what, honey, and that's another story in itself too. Said my best thing about my apartment, I open my window and I have a view of the entire state building. And we were like, what you mean? You can see the whole building? Or are you joking, right? He said entire state building. So I'm like, this guy is crazy. Yes. But his other story on that, he could not remember people's names. My name was Annie. We got Willie, Willow, it's Griffo, Winnow. That's
And
how
Nettie.
he remembered it. So,
And Nettie.
Nettie, right?
Yeah.
Nettie Vernetta. So he was a character. I like this one. We went out to dinner and everybody ordered. So Ricky says, "Hey, I'm gonna get steak Diane. I'll take mashed potatoes and gravy, green beans, and for the drink, I'll take a iced tea with no ice." And we're like, looking this iced tea with no ice. Okay, and the waitress was leaving, so she said, "Oh, and for my dessert, I want apple pie a la mode." So she got ready to leave again. He says, "Oh, and put some ice cream on that." And, we're like, okay. And these go on and on. I mean,
but did you play cards with Will? You did not play cards with him.
I did not. Because, see, they played for a little bit more than I can afford. And Ricky grew up on the streets of Oakland. He was almost like a hustler. He could play cards with the best of them. Don't try to beat him out of anything because that's kind of how he grew up. He grew up, keeping himself in food and clothes by learning to play cards, dice, everything. And that rascal really, I still think that he's the best leadoff hitter, almost one of the best baseball players, period. He could, like I said, take over a game by himself.
Yes.
But because of his attitude, his personality, easy for him to fit in on a team when he was new to the team?
Oh, it does, because you can joke him, and he don't even know you did it to him. So he just starts laughing and whatever, you tell him something, that was pretty good, and but I'll tell you another story. I can't remember if I told you this one, David, because one day we were out there and Ricky was not dressed. Okay, he did not dress out. So I went up to him. I said, "Ricky, what's going on?" He said, "I'm not playing today, honey." I said, "You're not playing? How do you do that?" I said, "I'm not playing. George owes me some money." So, he had an incentive in his contract. If he got certain thing done, he gets this money. Well, this money was still chump change. I guess it was $135,000. So Ricky said, "I'm not playing." So we went out for batting practice. He's still not dressed. Come in, went out for infield. Ricky's running. He's out there warming up, running. George gave him that check. He went 4 for 4, stole 4 bases, 4 hits, and I mean, he was happy. They could not get him out. That was him. It's like he took everything, a grin on his face. He gets serious when he in the box, but when he get on first, he jumping around. I'm going to third. You walk him, it's like a triple. So then you hit a little short fly ball, he's gonna score. Those 3, 4, and 5 hitters loved it because it helped their average. When him on third, less than 2 out, just hit a fly ball. You got an RBI, and nothing against your batting average. So
right.
They loved it.
Absolutely. Andre, so you establish yourself, as a starter,
right?
And then you have the rec. Can you go into that a little bit and how that changed and that period? Yeah, not detailed, but just in general.
Right. But it was kind of traumatic because I didn't think I was hurt as bad as I was. My parents came up there and we got home. When I got home, the first thing I realized is I reached in the refrigerator and took out a gallon of milk, and it immediately went down to my knee. I didn't realize it had hurt my right shoulder because I guess when the car hit, it flipped. And if you can Google that car, I guess it's on the internet. It was messed up pretty bad. So when I realized I couldn't really throw, that's what happened to me in '84. That's another even year, right? So I struggled through it. I went to spring training. I was in the hospital 9 days, and they realized my neck was broken. So I made it back to spring training. That happened on August the 18th. That's one of those anniversaries I'll never forget. But I did make it to spring
That's my
training. Hit a
birthday.
home run. Yeah, what? That's your birthday?
That's my
So
birthday.
you did that to me
I
then.
did.
Andre, were you wearing 18? Didn't you wear 18? That was your number with the Yankees too.
That
Right?
was my number after I got up there after 83.
Right.
So I was 18 every year after that. Yeah. So yes, that's the number I claim. I think I even put it in my autograph these days.
Right. So
but,
you come out of that, you go back to spring training, and
right. Well, I had that year I struggled. I was up and down again in 1984. I think I ended up hitting like right at 200 in both places. So I came back to spring training, in 85. Everything was going well. I had won the starting position, hitting the ball well, fielding the ball well, and we were going to play the New York Mets. And a lot of people made that team by doing well against the Mets. Well, we were taking infield. You know how they hit the ball in the hole? You take a long one, run in, throw it to first. Well, they hit the ball in the hole, and I planted to throw the ball, and my spike caught. And I felt a little pop in my left knee. So I didn't know what that was. It didn't feel that bad. But when I went in, we had our trainer, Gene Monahan, look at it, and he moved it probably about a quarter of an inch. It's not supposed to move at all. So I saw that look. I said, "What's going on?" Well, I didn't really realize what it was, but with an MRI, I partially tore my ACL. So that year, I was still hitting the ball well. So I think I ended up going back to rehab. Stayed in Florida while the team went north. So I came back up. I went to Columbus. I think I hit 393 in a couple of games there, and I'm like killing the ball. So they called me back up, and I still didn't have my mobility. They had created this special brace. I still have that thing, and I don't like to look at it, but I use it as a motivating type factor for what had gone through and I'd gone through to get back up there. And then, I'm hitting fifth because Mike Pagliarulo was a left-handed hitter, was struggling against left-handed pitching. So I was hitting fifth. I'm facing these guys like Mark Langston's, the John Candelarias, and all them. And I didn't play a whole bunch, but I had my best year. I hit 328 that year. And so we were 2 games away from making it to the World Series again. But Toronto beat us. We had to sweep them in a 3-game series at the end of the year. So the bad thing about that, we had a pitcher that we were paying that George had traded to Toronto that beat us and knocked us out of the playoffs. So we paid him to beat us and knock us out of the playoffs.
Was that in 84? Was that in 84 or 85?
85. That was Doyle Alexander. I know you know it. So that was kind of the story that year. I actually had my best year offensively, even though I wasn't playing every day. And it's hitting. It's hard to do it when you don't play all the time.
Right.
So, but I had constant contact the whole year and had a good year. But then after that, that's kind of how sports is. And I can't blame anybody. They said, well, what about next year? Well, I came back in 86 and did not get to play too much in spring training. Well, your knee's bad. I said, well, my knee was bad last year, but since I was hitting the ball, it was the end of spring training. I didn't do surgery because I would have probably missed the whole year. So I think I was one of the last, that player to be named later in 86 because I got traded to it. Well, Ken Griffey got traded to Atlanta for Cardell Washington and a shortstop named Paul Zavella. And that player to be named later ended up being me. So that was kind of where it got to the point where I knew I wasn't going to make it back up, but I never gave up. So I ended up playing with Seattle one year, then it was Oakland. Then Texas called me in 89. That was my last year. I actually got to go up 1 week and then back down. Said that was the end. I said I knew at that point I was like 32. It was time for me to do something else.
You came back to UT. You got your business degree. You've been very successful at DuPont.
Mm-hmm.
Off the field and later in life, great family, the whole bit. But do you ever look back? Is it human nature to look back? What if I hadn't gotten that wreck? What if I hadn't popped the
Of
knee?
course, because like we were talking about it, I could be a millionaire and not be working a shift job, But like I told David tonight, I worked 15 hours tonight because somebody else had to do something. I did. I said, well, look, I'll stay over. And that's kind of just like baseball. I do the same thing no matter where I am. Teamwork is the dream work, right? You try to help people out in situations when they need to have help. And I've kind of tried to live my life like the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so far from me, that has worked.
The way things went with the Yankees, especially with the wreck and then with the knee, do you look back there and besides wishing that things had gone better, but did you have the support that you needed, and did you form some great friendships because of some people really giving you that support?
I have, and the one that I used to keep up with mostly was Willie Randolph, but then he ended up being a manager. So during the season, you can't talk to those people as you could. So I've kind of lost touch with a few people, but for the most part, when I go back, I'm in the Major League Baseball alumni. I'm still seeing a lot of the guys that I played with and against, and it's almost like you going back into the 80s. And it's like David knows too. You see these guys that you played with, that's your family. And you're spending more time with them than your family. So it's gonna be hard to not reminisce about it. Sure, I wish I could have played more, but I didn't cry over the spilt milk. And like David says, I've moved on, and I'm just glad all of my kids are successful now. I have an RN and an attorney as kids, so they've done their dues too. So you want to see them do better than you, and that's what I'm looking at right now.
Well, and just kind of shifting a little bit. Have you watched the Horns very much? I know you have a little bit.
Right.
What do you think, especially about Faltini? I think he's got major league ability defensively. Just kind of your take on the Horns, some of the players in the team.
He does, and he was my main focus because that was my position. I went up there, and I think I did that Longhorn network. When I went in the booth last week, and I think they asked me, and I walked up to him, and he's shot up. I said, did you grow or did I shrink? So he can play. And like I said, I had a little concern when I first saw it. Kind of he drops down to throw the ball, but I talked with Keith Moreland. He said, hey, when he needs to, he can get that arm up and gun the ball. So I said, well, that's good. He's got the tools. He started as a freshman, and hey, kind of like I did. And look, I can't see anything wrong with his game. So
yeah, I think he's a very talented player, especially defensively.
Right.
And I see the offense coming this year. I see the swing shorter, smarter, like many of them. They condense the zone. They've got a game plan. He really looks good at the plate right now. And he's just got to understand his job number one is play defense.
Right.
We'll take what we can get hitting and not overswing. I think last year, and he wasn't the only one, he overswung at time trying to hit bomb. This year he's shortened up. He's hitting a lot of doubles, he's putting the ball in play a lot more consistently.
And
they all are a good start.
They all are. I think
I agree.
I told him in that, we had set that NCAA record back in, that was, I think, 77 year, my freshman year. We won our first 34 games in a row. And I said that night, I hope y'all can break that. And it wouldn't hurt my feelings any bit at all if they could. But those kids are playing good baseball. And you can't take that away from them. So I loved it when I was up there, and it's like I'd watched some of the games when they were in Corpus Christi. They're not in those games, close games, and I told Coach Pierce, those are the games that you want to see them win. Not those ones they blow them out, but those 1-0, 2-0 games. You're showing your resilience. You're showing you can keep what you're doing is going to keep you in the game till you get to the end and win the game. So that builds that character that you want to see in a team.
We joked about you and Lowery being second baseman at the very start of this. Have you kept up with other second basemen, just watching them through the years? And just to see if anybody could be as good as you?
I have, and look, Javier Lopez, you know I'm talking about, David.
Yeah.
That son of a gun, he makes plays that's ungodly. And now I see Runette Odor used to be with the Rangers. He's now with New York. But back in my time, Frank White was with Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
Willie Randolph, they had all kinds of good second basemen. Well, all of the guys could play. So it's just an honor for me to have been part of that, and at least some of those folks still know who I am. So that's you make that kind of impression, and that's what I'm most impressed with.
And on the shortstop side, who do you like? It doesn't have to be just second base. On the shortstop side, who do you like in today's game?
Well, you know the king, right? Ozzie Smith. And I met Ozzie about 3 years ago. That rascal could make plays that were unbelievable. And no, he's actually shorter than I am. So, but that did not stop him. That's why there was a reason they called him the Wizard. Because you remember that one play where he went to his left and dove? That ball bounced back behind him. He reached up with his hand, got it
barehanded
first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm still like, how did he do that? And of course he'd run out and do the backflip before the game started, and he was just an entertainer, and that's why he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Has the game changed? Do you think that the game has changed since in the 80s, 90s, since our era?
What I think has changed in the game, all these guys are bigger, stronger, faster. Their approach to hitting is this launch angle. So they're big enough to hit a ball up and hit it over the fence. We want us to get on base, try to run the ball. So the home run has become a factor. Then you got people like Aaron Judge, 6'7", 280, just hitting the ball a mile, Giancarlo Stanton, and that's what the game is now. You're taking away the stolen bases, the stuff that makes it excited, and then you have people. I saw somebody was complaining about a shift. There was Joey. He played with New York. I can't remember.
Gallo.
He said that they need to change the game. Well, they shifted on Willie McCovey. Willie McCovey hit a ball in the hole to left field and got on base. It's not the shift. Change your swing.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. If they're giving you a whole side of the field to hit the ball to. You're just trying to do that launch, hit the ball out of the park. And that's not going to be the shift all the time. But if you got half of everybody is on the right side of the field, why don't you use the left side? And it's just that attitude these days. Everybody's so big, they can hit the ball 400 feet. So the shift to me, I don't really like it, but that's part of the game now. You need to figure out how to beat it. And that's what the game is.
I agree.
I think we talked about a sophomore jinx. I don't think there is one. What happens is you come up as a rookie like Judge, 50-something home runs. What did he hit the next year? It wasn't that many, right?
Right.
People figured out what he was doing, and they changed how they pitched him. What you have to do is adjust to how they're pitching, and he started doing that now. So it's not a jinx. They know you, and you know how they chart the pitches, where you hit the ball, and all of that. You need to adjust to what they're doing to you each and almost every game or every at bat. So that's what causes that jinx. You keep swinging the same, somebody's going to find a hole. You need to figure out how to seal that hole back up.
How often do you go to Yankee games? Do you still feel like you're royalty up at Yankee Stadium?
Well, I hadn't really gone that much because I'm playing. I went up there to see the new stadium, but it was right after the Astros had beat them, so they weren't going to be there. My son was at Columbia getting this law degree and stuff, so I was going to try to get it there. But when Houston beat them, that was the closest I've gotten to go back to a game up there.
Huh. They need to bring you back.
Hey, I'm ready for the old timers game, as long as I don't have to throw or run.
You did some of that reunion stuff though earlier, right? When you were a little bit younger, the kids were younger. Didn't you go up and spend some time with Yogi and that crew?
Oh yeah, well, Yogi that's my man there, and he
I know
always
you've
called
always
me
wanted to know.
short.
You got to give us the Yogi story before we go.
Okay, well, I got all of that. It's like you know the ones. It's not over till it's over. Okay, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. That restaurant's too crowded. Nobody goes there anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it's like the one I actually heard that one day we had a spring training game and everybody was tired. They said, we got to line up and run the wind sprints, after the game. So Yogi just, how people are kind of grumbling, they not want to. Yogi said, okay, you guys, line up. No, it says pair up in threes. And we're like, everybody started laughing, and that was it. No, the practice was over. I said, how do we pair up in three? That does not make any sense. So that was one I actually heard besides all the, the long list of things that he has said. So
you played for Yogi, you played with Ricky. I don't know how you're able to stay sane through all of that.
Hey, it made it fun. And that's, we had talked about that on the Longhorn Network. This is a good, fun type of thing to do, a good game, make it fun. You learn all of the techniques, then have fun with it. And baseball to me is an easy game. We make it hard ourselves. Once you learn the techniques, David knows too. They can be throwing 99, but that ball seems to slow down. And that's when you learn what you got after hour. You got 2/5 of a second to hit a 90-something mile per hour fastball. That's plenty of time. Right, David?
You got to see it sooner. You used to tell me you got to just see it, pick it up sooner.
That's it.
Make sure it's below your hands.
Right.
Good. So
that's it. Anyway. And it's like once that game slows down, that's kind of like you made it.
Last thing.
You're sounding like a coach. This weekend, can you give Lowry some more second base tips?
Oh yeah, we can do it. I'm gonna try to go to a couple of the games in Houston. And I'm pretty sure I can go Friday and maybe Saturday, but Sunday, guess what I got to do, David?
Yeah, I think I may go down Friday too. I'm
okay.
supposed to anyway.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you, what did it mean for you to be inducted into the Longhorn Hall of Honor?
Hey, I couldn't have had a bigger honor, and like I think they brought me back a couple of times for Black History Month because it's almost like the Black History for UT is me. So as long as I can come back and see how things have advanced, how things are going better, and hey, what other honor could you have? Hall of Honor, sports. Let me see, I was there in 79. I'm just glad that I'm still around to have been able to see that happen.
Well, I want to
seems like just yesterday you were playing.
Yeah, right. It feels like that till I try to throw and but hey, all those years I actually played 4 sports in high school, so it takes a toll on your body after a while. So I'm just glad I'm still breathing and go and joke with these younger kids and try to give them a little advice, and hopefully they can take that to heart and get them to where we got. So.
Well, the last thing I wanted to say is, again, and I mean this serious, I know we joke a lot. We've been friends a long time. Our families have been friends. You worked at DuPont. My dad worked at DuPont, Beaumont.
Right.
But I really do want to thank you because you were such an inspiration, something that our guys, my age group, Rod, and all those other guys that we grew up playing, especially in Orange County, we really looked up to you. And you've been such a good role model on the field and off the field as well. So I want to say that. Thank you for your friendship, and thank you for being a great role model.
Well, I appreciate that. And, I try to get there and spend time with you guys as much as I can. And hopefully after this year, it may be time for me to quit so I can get up there a little bit more often. So
there you go. You've always got a room here. Yeah.
Look, that's my plan. I'm trying to get my boss to agree with that.
There you go.
And not the one at work. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah. Andre Robertson, thanks so much for joining us. You've been great having you in the box seats. Thank you.
All right.
See you, Andre.
All right.